Welcome back to a new course. In this video we are going to talk about Streamlit. Streamlit is a Python framework that helps us creating web apps with a few lines of code. In this course we are going to talk about installation of Streamlit, its documentation, widgets, displaying different data formats, working with data frames and styling them, data visualization, layout options, and at the final we are going to talk about how we can deploy our machine learning apps on Streamlit. I'm going to add chapters to this video, so if you want to skip some parts or re-listen some of them, you can check the chapters of this video from the video bar or from the description. Let's start coding. I'm in my code editor right now. I prefer Visual Studio Code for this tutorial, but you can use any code editor that you want. I'm going to be closing this welcome page, and at the first place I want to talk about the Streamlit, and then we can start learning about it and coding the web apps. So I want to create a text file quickly, like streamlit.txt, for writing the key points on Streamlit. So we can type like key points, and we can say no need for front and coding. We can say reactive, which means your app updates every time a change is made. And we are going to say easy integration with Python libraries like pandas, numpy, and matplotlib. So these are the key points on Streamlit. So Streamlit is an open source Python framework used to quickly build web apps for data science and machine learning projects. It allows you to create interactive data-driven applications with very little code, making it ideal for data visualization, machine learning model deployment, and quick prototyping. So you are going to be typing maybe 30 or 40 lines of code for beautiful machine learning deployments or data visualizations or creating dashboards using Streamlit. And you can share your Streamlit app with your company, workers, your customers, or anyone that you want. You can set passwords, you can create login screen, and it allows you a lot of things. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to show you how you can install the Streamlit. I already have Streamlit in my system, so firstly I'm going to be installing it. In the terminal I will say pip3 uninstall Streamlit, and it's going to uninstall that. I will say y in here. Next I will say pip3 install Streamlit. For Windows, what you are going to do is you are going to say pip like this, and you are going to make this code run. And for the Mac side I'm going to be doing that, and it's going to download the Streamlit. After the downloading process we can verify it like pip3 show the Streamlit, and it's going to give me the Streamlit version. It gives a summary about the library, and we can see a lot with pip show. So I'm going to be recording this tutorial on the Streamlit version 1.39.0, and if you want to be sure about the codes are going to work on your system too, you can install my version using pip3 install Streamlit 1.39.0. With this command you can install the same version with me. Again, for Windows you are going to say pip, and let me show you quickly. You can say this for the Windows, and if you do that you are going to have Streamlit version same as mine. And I'm going to be deleting this. The other way of verifying the installation is like with pip3 show we verify the installation. If we see something in here, it means that we have that library, otherwise it was going to raise an error. But we can also say Streamlit hello, and it's going to return a result like this, and it opened a new page in my browser in this address. By the way, if you can't see the Streamlit page in your browser right now, you can just copy this local URL in here and paste it in your browser for seeing the Streamlit page of welcome. And in this tutorial we are going to be switching between the browser and code editor a lot, since we are going to be developing web apps. So I'm going to be making a lot of cuts between the switches because I want you to have a better learning experience. So I'm going to be re-recording in a second in a browser. So in here we are in the website that we see in the local URL, and it automatically opened up, and it's the welcoming page of the Streamlit. Let's take a look at it. So it says Welcome to Streamlit. Streamlit is an open source app framework built specifically for machine learning and data science projects. Select the demo from a sidebar to see some examples of what Streamlit can do. And it shows check out streamlit.io, jump into our documentation. By the way, the documentation of Streamlit is amazing. We can also take a look at it before the course. I'm going to show you how we can see the concepts. If you have questions about Streamlit, you can just jump in this link community forums, and it says see more complex demos. And in this three dot in the right upper side, you can change the app settings. You can just rerun the app. You can get your page printed, and in the settings side, you can set to the white mode, or you can change the app theme, like I can set it to light or I can set it to dark. I'm going to set this to dark, which I think better for learning stuff on your side. And next, let's check the demos at the left side. So at the animation demo, we are going to have something like this, and we can change the settings from here. Like I'm going to change this level of detail, separation, like we are going to see different images in here, and this animation chains with the chains in the left side. And let's see the plotting demo. We are going to have a line chart. We can see its animation in here, and it's going to be completed in a second. And in here, we can see the code. We are going to learn about these concepts in the course. And let me quickly show you the documentation in here. So I'm in the Streamlit side. I'm going to say accept all for the cookies, and I just showed you how you can install the Streamlit, so I'm not going to be taking a look at setup and installation, but we are going to take a look at API reference and app gallery. So I'm going to open this in a new tab, and I'm going to open the API reference in this one. And in here, what you can see is you have different Streamlit elements with their basic codes. Like if you want to create a title, we are going to learn about all of them in a second, but let's say that you take this course, it has been 1 month, and you are going to develop a Streamlit app, and you just forgot about the subheader. You can just come to here and open the subheader page, and it's going to show you the parameters, the function signature, and the code example in here. And also in here, you can see a demo on the concept. So Streamlit have a really nice documentation, which includes a visual guide for most of the function it has. Like you can see it has for the code block, latex, divider, preformat text. Also, it shows the third-party components. I believe they show the most popular ones in here. In here, you can see the data elements like data frames, data editor, column configuration, static tables, metrics, dictionaries, and JSON. We have more third-party components. We have chart elements, like we just saw a line chart on the plotting demo page. We have line charts, scatter plots on maps, matplotlib, altair, vega, and we have like plotly, bokeh, graph visualization, PyDect. We have more third-party components, and in the input widget side, we have different objects that we can make, which can take inputs from user. Like if user clicks this button, we can display like you just press this button, or we can insert a file in the download button. We have the feedback option in here. We have the form button. We have link button, which opens a new website. We have a page link, checkbox. Like for a quick example, let's say that you are making a financial calculation, and you can put a button like, do you want to include a 10% text on your formula of revenue or calculation? And if checkbox is ticked, then you can apply the text. And if it is not, you just don't apply the text. We have the color picker, multi-select, radio, select box, select slider, toggle, number input. They are all useful depending on your app. Like we have data input in here. Let's say that you are creating an app for your accounting department, a data manipulation app which generates automated reports, and you can just put 2 date inputs, which the accounting worker can pick the dates, and you can just filter the operations, transactions between the dates, and you can generate a report in this way. Just a small example, you have limitless possibilities of data apps. With Streamlit, we have audio input, data editor, file uploader for taking a file input from our user. Like different departments can upload their Excel files in your app, then ask questions about their Excel files with typing stuff, and you can create an AI app for answering that questions based on the uploaded Excel file in here. Like we have a lot of options again, and I'm not going to talk about all of the stuff in here, but I just want to talk about the input widgets and the data visualization side, but I'm going to scroll faster. We have the layouts, Streamlit page for creating multi-page application, elements, we have chat elements for creating chatbot, we have status elements for showing the status of the current process, we have animations, third-party components again, we have execution flow, and we have caching and state, connections and databases, and we can see that we have the secrets management, and I think it's enough for the API side. So again, Streamlit have a really good API. When you just forget stuff about Streamlit, you can just come to here for quickly remembering that, and you can continue developing your Streamlit app. Also, they have a section like Ask AI, and you can just click to that and ask questions about Streamlit in here. Like you can say, for example, I want to add a data frame to my Streamlit app. What is the code? And let's see our response in here. So in here, AI generates how you can add data frame to your Streamlit app. It says Streamlit.data frame, that's the correct way, and it generates an example code that you can try, and you can use AI assistant too. So I'm going to be closing the API document in here and also the plotting demo, and let's see our app gallery. I'm going to accept the cookies, and you can look for the different apps. Like you can see roadmap, pretty map, 30 days of Streamlit, Streamlit eCharts demo, Streamlit components up. You can just filter the apps. Like I'm going to say trending, it says like I'm going to go with the large language model examples. You can open the apps like this from the app gallery, and you can try the apps by clicking on their names in app gallery, and you can see we have a GitHub link in here. You can just check the codes for learning how they coded that. You can see with this much code they created that page. So I'm going to be closing this one, and I just want to show you the app gallery side too, and we can return back to our code editor for starting coding and learning Streamlit. Okay, so I'm in my code editor back again, and I'm going to be closing this terminal. I'm going to be closing this text file. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to create a Python file like app.py, and in here, for using the Streamlit that we just installed, we can say import Streamlit as st, and from now on we can call Streamlit for using its function, and we import it as st, so we can call st, and after that we can use its functions like, I remember title. If you want to create a title, you can just say streamlit.title, and you are going to be using the title function from Streamlit. And we are going to create a really basic app for the starting point. We are going to say streamlit.write, and I'm going to say hello Streamlit. Next up, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say streamlit.write, which is similar like the print function, but it displays the text inside this in a web app. I will say this is my first Streamlit app, and I'm going to save this file. Next up, how I can run this file is I'm going to say from the terminal Streamlit run, and you need to pass your file name app.py after this one, app.py. And with this command, it's going to open a web page in my browser again. You can reach to the web page from this URL. Once again, I'm not going to be telling this again and again, but if you can't see the web page on your browser right now, you can just go to this address, and when you make changes, Streamlit automatically updates the app after you save your file, so you can just refresh this page in here, local URL, for seeing the new version of your app. So I'm going to be re-recording in my browser in a second for seeing our most basic app in Streamlit. So here is the app that we just coded. We have the hello Streamlit title in here, and we have the Streamlit.write statement in here, which says this is my first Streamlit app. And similar with the introduction, we have 3 dots in here. We have rerun, settings, print, about, developer options, clear cache. You can change the settings from here like this. And you can say like automatically updates the app when the underlying code is updated. Run or save can be an option for the development. Also, you can refresh this page like this when you make a change in your Streamlit app. So for just showing you, I'm going to add a dot after the app. Like I'm going to save this from my code editor. Now you can see that it says source file has changed. And when I make refresh, we are going to see a dot after the app. Like this. So it's this easy to develop web apps using Streamlit. I'm going to go back to the code editor and be recording in a second. It's the last time I'm going to tell this again. I'm going to be switching a lot with the web page and code editor. So let's continue. I'm not going to close the terminal. I will say like, firstly I'm going to delete all of them, and we are going to talk about Streamlit fundamentals right now. I'm going to firstly start with displaying text and markdown in Streamlit, and we are going to see different types of writing, text, markdown, headers, and more. So let's start. Let's start with Streamlit.title. We already saw that this displays a large title. Like I will say Streamlit fundamentals. And let's keep with header. So header displays a header in the app. Streamlit header. This is a header, and we have subheader. This displays a smaller header. So I will say this is a subheader. Next up, I'm going to say Streamlit.text. This displays a simple text. Like I will say this is a simple text output. And we have markdown. This renders text with markdown syntax, like for things like bold, typing, italic, lists. And we can say like, I will say 2 sharps in here. This is bold text using markdown. And let's see how they look. I'm going to save my file and I'm going to be recording in the browser. So I'm going to refresh my Streamlit page, and we can see that like in here we have the title, header, subheader, Streamlit.text, and markdown in here. This is how we can display different texts. So let's talk about displaying variables and data. So I'm going to delete this, and I will say like name. I'm going to enter my name, and I will say number like this. Next, I will use Streamlit.write, which is a versatile command that automatically determines how to render the past object, like it's a text, number, list. So I generally use this one for displaying stuff on Streamlit. So I will say hello, and I'm going to pass my name. Next up, I will say Streamlit.write. Here is a random number, and I'm going to pass the number, and I'm going to be saving my file and recording on browser. So with a quick refresh in the side, we are going to see that hello and honor displayed with normal text, and it says here's a random number and 10 displayed in this format. Great. Okay, let's add a simple widget for user interaction. I'm going to delete those, and I will say if Streamlit.button, which means that we are going to be creating a button like click me, and this if statement here says if this button is clicked, and it's going to work only if the button is clicked. Now I will say Streamlit.write button clicked. So I'm going to save this and go to the browser. Again, I'm going to go to this address. So you can go to this address, and if your terminal isn't active, you can just type streamlit run app.py for making your web app run again. So I'm going to be refreshing my file. Here we can see our button click me, and I'm going to press the button and it says button clicked. But if I don't click, it's not going to do anything. Like I'm going to refresh. If I'm not clicking on that, it's not going to display anything. As soon as I click, we see button clicked. Let's work with a checkbox. So I will say checked, and it's going to be equal to the Streamlit checkbox check me, like this. And we will say if checked, Streamlit.write checkbox is checked. And in here, the Streamlit.checkbox returns a boolean like true or false. We can type it out, like I will say true or false. So it's going to be true if the checkbox is checked, and it's going to be false if user is not doing anything with the checkbox. So if checked equals to true, which means that checkbox is used, this if condition is going to work, and we are going to display checkbox is checked on the screen. So let's see that in browser. So I'm going to be refreshing. We can see that we have the check me checkbox in here, and I'm not clicking on anything or different areas. Nothing is happening on the screen, but as soon as I click on this checkbox, we can see that checkbox is checked appeared on our screens. We are back in our code editor. Now we are going to talk about the slider. Sliders are useful for numerical inputs within a specified range. Like it can be age, weight, or some stuff like that. Let's do the example with age. Like I will say age is going to be Streamlit.slider, and we are going to pass the parameters. Firstly, the label. Select your age. Also you can see from the here. Next, I'm going to say 0 for the minimum value, 100 for the maximum value, and 25 for the default value. And next, I'm going to say Streamlit.write. I'm going to say your age is, and I'm going to say age, like this. Also, we can add this one. So defaultly, it's going to be 25 if user is not going to do anything, since we set the default value as 25. And as soon as user changes it, since Streamlit is reactive, our app is going to update the your age is Streamlit.write inside. So I'm going to be saving this file, and let's see that on browser. I'm going to be refreshing the page again, and here we can see we have a slider. It says select your age. Defaultly it's 25, and your age is 25 appears in here, and we can change this. Like I'm going to make it to 65, so it's going to be updated in here too. I'm going to change this to 7. It's going to be updated in here too, and our minimum value was 0 and the maximum was 100. So user can only enter values inside this range. Great, now we are going to talk about text input. A text input box allows users to type in text. So I'm going to delete those. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to say like name is going to be Streamlit text input, and I will say enter your name, and we can set the value like an empty string. Next up I will say Streamlit.write hello, like this, and I'm going to delete the space and I will add name like this. So I'm going to save this. Now we can go to the Streamlit app again on the browser. So I'm going to be refreshing this file again, and we can see that enter your name appears in here and hello with an empty string in here. I'm going to enter my name like Honor, and we are going to see that hello Honor appears in here. Like you can enter any value and it's going to appear in here. Okay, let's use our widget values dynamically. So I'm going to set two things, like I will say name and age. Like I'm going to delete this one. Let's recreate from scratch. Name is going to be Streamlit text input, and I will say like enter your name. Next up I will say age, and I will use Streamlit.slider, and I'm going to say select your age, and 0 with 100 for the minimum and maximum values. Next up I will say if Streamlit button submit, I'm going to add a button like this. I will say Streamlit write. I'm going to use an f string like this, I will say hello name, you are age years old. Like I'm going to do this. In here, Streamlit.text input, the name, and Streamlit.slider, the age, are captured and used dynamically. When the user presses the submit button, the app updates to show the message. And in Streamlit, the order that you write your code is really important. Like we are typing text input, slider, and button like this. So in our app page, we are going to see firstly at the top the name input, the text input, we can type it like this, text input, then we are going to see age, slider input, and we are going to see the button we create in here. Like if you write the button at the top, you are going to see the button at the top. The order the write your code changes the user interface. So you need to code the elements that you want to see on the top at the first place. Like if you want to see a title at the top, like string.title, you are going to say like age showing, like welcoming app, we can say. And I'm going to make it run. I will save this and I will show you how this looks. Now I'm going to refresh my page. You see welcoming app appears in here, and in the code editor I'm going to just cut this and put this in here. I will save this one and I'm going to go back to browser. I'm going to refresh the page and you are going to see welcoming app appears at the bottom. So it's so important to put the elements that you want to see at the top and put the elements that you want to see at the bottom to the bottom on look side of the app. And I'm going to delete this and now we can check our app. So I'm going to be refreshing. We are not going to have a title. Okay, let's do that. Firstly, I'm going to hit the submit button without entering anything. And it says hello and it returns an empty string. It says you are 0 years old. So let's do our inputs. I will say honor and I'm going to enter my age in here. And when I press submit, we are going to see hello honor, you are 25 years old. And let's change it to something like John and let's increase the age to 85. We are going to see hello John, you are 85 years old. So it's updating the variables when we make a change in here. So we just updated the age to 26 and we see 26 on the screen. Okay, now it's practice time. So I'm going to delete this code and I'm going to give you a small task for you to complete with the things that you learned by far. So I'm going to type it too. I'm going to say like, I'm going to type it to here. Use what you have learned to create a simple app that asks for user input, which is going to be name, age, and favorite number. Actually, let's type them like this: user input, name, age, and favorite number. And we will say, and dynamically displays the results. So this is going to be our task for the exercise. And if you want to learn the concepts better, you can just stop the video right now and try to code it by yourself. But if you just want to continue to the course, you can just continue. I'm going to be solving this task in a second, but I recommend trying. So you can stop the video and code by yourself, or you can watch me solve this one. I'm going to say, firstly, I'm going to create a title like user information form. And firstly, I'm going to collect user input like name is going to be Streamlit text input. And we will say enter your name at name side. And our second input is age. So we are going to use a slider for that. Streamlit slider, select your age. And let's define a range like 0 to 100 and favorite number like Streamlit, I will say text input. I'm going to show you how we can take number input after this example, but let's do it with a text input right now. I will say Streamlit text input and I will say enter your favorite number. Next up, I'm going to say, like in here, if Streamlit button submit, and I'm going to return something like, let's make the submit look better. I'm going to return something like streamlit.write. I'm going to use an f string, hello with the name, and we can use this. You are age, and actually I don't need a comma in here, years old. Your favorite number is, we can pass the favorite number in here. Okay, so this is our app. So I'm going to be deleting the task here after reading it. Use what you have learned to create a simple app that asks for user input, name and your favorite number, and dynamically displays the results. So let's delete this one and let's set this and let's see our app in action. So I'm going to refresh this page and we are going to see we have a really good looking form. It says user information form, and let's say like enter your name, honor, and let's select our age, like it's going to be 25, and I'm going to enter my favorite number like 155, and I will say, let's say like 150. I don't know, I don't have a favorite number by the way. I'm going to throw off something like 37. So I'm going to say submit, and it says hello owner, you are 25 years old and your favorite number is 37. So we have all the features we learned in here and our app is ready right now. For the task we just set it and we can change this and it's going to get updated dynamically. Like I'm going to say this number, I'm going to say this age, and when I say submit, it changed the years old thing and the favorite number. I can change this to favorite number like this and set the age to 5, and it's going to update the thing that app displays. Okay, let's talk about the number input. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to say like age is going to be equal to the Streamlit number input, and I'm going to say like enter your age for the label. Like you can see the parameters in here, and I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to set the value like it's going to be the default value like 20. Next I'm going to say streamlit.write entered age, and I'm going to display the age in here. So I'm going to make this save and let's see this on browser. In here I'm going to be refreshing this page, and as you can see we have the number input in here. We can't input text, like when we enter it's going to return back to a default value, like let's say honor in here. When I press enter it's going to not change, and we can just increase and decrease this number, and you can see the age changes in here according to our number input. Okay, so we are going to talk about displaying data in Streamlit right now. Streamlit makes it easy to display static data like text, tables, and JSON. Let's go over how to display pandas data frames and other data structures. So for displaying data frames and tables, we can use streamlit.dataframe and streamlit.table to display tabular data in a well-formatted way. So let's delete them and make an example quickly. I'm also going to import the pandas in here for creating the data frame, and I'm going to say like data. I'm going to create a quick dictionary, like I will say name, and I will say like random John, Anna, Peter, and Linda. Next I'm going to say age, and we can enter the random ages like 23, 29, 35, 32. Next I will say city, and we can enter random capital cities, like actually let's enter popular cities, not the capital ones, only Paris, Berlin, and London. So this is going to be our data, and I'm going to say data frame is going to be equal to the pandas data frame data. So we are going to have a pandas data frame in here with this data. So let's display the data frame firstly. For displaying the data frame, we will say streamlit.dataframe and df, and I'm going to type that, It's interactive, so it's scrollable. The Streamlit table is not going to be able to open for scrolling, but this one is scrollable. I'm going to save this and let's see this in our web app. I'm going to refresh this page and here is our data frame. And in here we can change the format, like we can make it full screen from the clicking there. We can use a search bar and we can download this data from this download button, download as CSV, and our data frame looks great. And also I want to show you our data frame on the light dim, and it looks pretty good. Like, I love using Streamlit data frame format in my apps and it looks great. Okay, let's go back to the code editor. Okay, let's display the data frame as a static table. So for that I will say Streamlit.table and I'm going to pass my data frame in here. So we can type like none scrollable in here. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to open my browser and I'm going to refresh the page, and here is our static table. Like, we can do the operations on the Streamlit.data frame, but this looks really good too. The preference between the Streamlit.data frame and Streamlit.table is completely up to you. Okay, let's talk about displaying JSON data. So I'm going to delete that, and I don't want to type a JSON data structure like using dictionaries because I don't want this tutorial to be too long. So I'm going to make a copy from the internet, and when you type example data to internet, you typically see a name like John Doe. It's a classic, so I take this one. Here is our JSON data, and we are going to use Streamlit.json for formatting it and displaying it in a human readable way in a Streamlit app, and I'm going to pass my JSON data in here. So let's see how this looks. And I'm going to refresh my page. Here are JSON data displayed like this. It's really looking well. Like, we can see we can do this, we can open this one, we can do this. It's looking really good, just like the JSON data parsers. Okay, now we are going to continue with displaying dynamic data. So I'm going to just take back some steps for having my data frame back, and we are going to use this data frame so we don't need to spend time on data creation. And with this data frame, I'm going to start with sorting and filtering data with widgets. Like, at the widget side, I didn't show you all of the widgets like the select box or others, but you can check the API documentation that I showed at the starting point of this video for having a quick overview of the widgets, and the syntax is pretty easy. So we are going to use them in this different types of subtopics, and you are going to learn with these subtopics. So what we are going to do in this point is we are going to start by add a filter on city, and I will say Streamlit.selectBox, and in here we can see like what parameters it takes. It takes a label, so I will press choose a city to filter, and in here the options are going to be data frame, city, and I'm going to pass the unique ones in here. So this returns the unique cities in the city data frame column, and it returns them as an option. So we will say filter data, and it's going to be equal to the data frame city equals the selected city from the select box in here. And we are going to say Streamlit.write, we can say like data for city, and we can pass the selected city in here, and I will say Streamlit.dataframe, and I'm going to give filtered data. Great, so let's make this run. In here, user is going to select the city from the unique values in the city column, and we are going to filter the data in that way, and we say data for city, and we show the data frame. So in here, when I refresh the page, we say that choose a city to filter, and in here we can say like Paris, and we are going to see the entries which has the city of Paris. We can say Berlin, and we are going to see the Berlin, and we can say London. We can see that data for city London, and we can see the city London in here. Great. Now we are going to talk about highlighting cells based on values. So I'm going to delete these ones, and next what I'm going to do is I will say, like in here, I'm going to say, actually let's make an increase in the column amount of this data. I will say score. I'm going to set scores like 88, 92, 79 and 85. So next up I will say style data frame, and I'm going to use data frame.style, and I will say apply map. Next I will say lambda x, and we are going to say for x background color yellow, and if is instance x an integer and x equals to 90, else we are going to say empty, like this. And we can use Streamlit.dataFrame after this one, and we can pass style data frame in here. And I'm going to save this. Let's see how this looks right now. So I'm going to refresh the page, and we are going to see that since it's greater than 90, we see it's in the yellow background and others not. So we can style our data frames and display them like this in our apps. Okay, let's do an example again. I'm not going to change a lot in here, but what I want is I want to say like get an user input as number input and filter based on that number. Like in here the filtering number is 90, and we are going to get a number from user. Like defaultly it's going to be 80, but user can change this number. Let's do that. You can stop the video and try to solve this by yourself, or you can watch me solving it. So I'm going to be directly starting to solve it. So we can set something like value, and it can be Streamlit number input. And let's not do like value of, let's say style, and we can say Streamlit number input, enter the minimum number to display in yellow, and we can set, we said like defaultly 80, so value is going to be 80. Next up we are going to take this, copy this value of style and put in here. So it's going to be this simple. What we do in here is we take number input, we set the default value as 80 as it is said in here, and we change this 90 in here to the value of style. So it's going to be changing dynamically. I'm going to be deleting this, and let's test how it works. I'm going to refresh the page, and in here we have the number input, and when it's default 80 it just mentions 3 of them. I'm going to set this to 87, so I want this 2 to be in yellow and the last 2 to be in a normal format, and here it is. I will say 90, only this one. I will say 95, we are going to get none in here. I'm going to say 50, we are going to have all yellow. So it's working smoothly. We completed the task. Great. So I'm going to go back to the code editor right now. Okay, so we are going to continue with data visualization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all that, and let's talk about it. So we are going to explore how to visualize data using both Streamlit's built-in charting capabilities and third-party libraries like Plotly, Matplotlib, and Altair. Maybe I won't use Altair, not sure, but I'm going to be using Plotly and Matplotlib for showing you how we can do that. You are also going to learn how to customize and enhance your visualizations. So let's start with the built-in ones. So in the built-in side, we are going to have like several built-in charts that makes it easy to quickly visualize data. So line chart, I will say import pandas as PD, import numpy as MP. Then I'm going to create a quick data frame for a line chart like data frame. I'm going to pass numpy.random number like 103, and I will say columns, let's say A, B, and C. So for creating a line chart from this data, I will say Streamlit line chart data. Just this. I'm going to save this and let's see how it looks. So in here I'm going to change it, and here is our line chart. It's looking beautiful. We can manipulate with our cursor, like I can change this. I can come to here for seeing the values on that point. Like I'm going to find one quickly. In here, since we have a random data frame, we have a complex line chart, we have the index 49, color A, and the value in here. And from this three dots, we can save it as PNG. We can see the view source, like we can see the save as SVG function, and we can make it full screen for seeing it like this, and it looks great. Okay, we just visualized 100 random data points across 3 columns. Okay, let's continue with bar chart. We can use Streamlit.barchart for creating bar charts, and I'm going to change this data a little bit. I will say 50. Next up, I will say Streamlit bar chart, and I will pass data. So let's see our bar chart. It automatically plots each column if you provide a data frame inside of this. I'm going to reload this, and here we can see our bar chart. Great, it looks amazing. Again, we can do the same operations. I'm not going to show you on all of the plots, but we can change this like this. Okay, I'm going to show you the area chart. It's similar. I'm not going to change the data, but area chart is great for displaying cumulative or comparative data over time. So with refreshing this, we are going to see our area chart. Great. And we can continue. For more advanced and customizable visualizations, we can integrate external libraries like Matplotlib, Plotly, and I'm going to start with Plotly. So I'm going to delete those, and what I'm going to do is I will say import Plotly.express as px. Next, I'm going to create the data quickly, like pandas data frame. I'm going to say fruit, and I will use like apples, bananas, cherries, and what else we can say? I will say like dates, or we can say like onions. I'm going to say this. Next up, I'm going to say amount, and I will say 10, 20, 30, 40, just a basic one. And next, I'm going to set my Plotly bar chart, like figure is going to be Plotly.bar. I will pass the data. I'm going to set my X like fruit. I'm going to set my Y like amount. And I want to tell that like Streamlit directly supports Plotly. Like we are going to use Streamlit attribute Plotly chart. And I'm going to give a title like fruit sales. And in here we are going to use a function from Streamlit, Streamlit.plotlychart, and I'm going to pass the figure in here. So let's check our bar chart. And I'm going to refresh this page. Here is our bar chart. So we can see it's a Plotly chart. We have the Plotly attributes in here. We can zoom in, zoom out. We can change the look of this like this. We can do these operations, and in here we have the download plot as a PNG file option. We have the zoom option in here, and we have the pan option in here for moving, zoom for making a zoom in here, and for zoom out, zoom in we have options, auto scale we have, reset axis we have, and full screen option we have. So when we go over the bars, we can also see the values for each bar in this bar chart. It seems pretty good. Okay, let's continue with Matplotlib and Seaborn data visualization. So I'm going to say import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and I will say import Seaborn as SNS. Next up, I'm going to create a quick data frame like data frame. I will say numpy.random, random number, 100 amount of this, and I will say columns. Again, I will say like A, B, and C like this. Next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a seaborn scatter plot using the plt.figure from matplotlib. Like this, I'm going to set the figure size as 10:6, and I will say seaborn scatter plot x is going to be equal to the data A column and y is going to be data B column. Next up, I will say streamlit.pyplot. So I'm going to say plt inside here. This pyplot command renders matplotlib or seaborn plots directly in Streamlit. So I'm going to save my file, and now we can check our browser. So now I'm going to be refreshing this page, and we are going to see our figure in here. Here is our scatter plot. Great. So we can integrate matplotlib and seaborn plots like this. Also, we can add stuff like plt.figure, title, like I'm going to show you in a second. I will just say plt.title, and I'm going to say scatter plot of A and B. So I'm going to save it, and let's see our web app. Now our app is going to have a plot with a title like this. Great. Now we are going to talk about layout and theming. So I'm just going to keep import Streamlit as st, and now you will learn how to customize the layout of your Streamlit application and apply themes to enhance the visual appearance. Streamlit provides various tools to control the arrangement of your app's components and to customize its look and feel. So let's start with layout options. We are going to start with columns. You can create columns to place widgets and content side by side. This helps in creating more organized and responsive layouts. So you can say something like column 1 and column 2, and you will say streamlit.columns. You are going to pass the number of columns in here. Next, we are going to be adding the context to the first column, like I will say like this, and I will say streamlit header, like we can say column 1, and I will say like streamlit.right. This is the first column, and I will say streamlit.button, let's say button 1. And for the column 2, I will do the same operation, like we can make copy paste and change, like I'm going to just paste this in here. I will say S, I will say 2, column 2, and I will say second in here. Let's go to our web app and see how this looks. So I'm going to be refreshing this page, and here we can see that we have 2 columns in here, and it says this is the first column, this is the second column, button 1 and button 2. Great. Let's talk about the expander widgets. Expander widgets can be used to hide or show content dynamically. This is useful for creating more compact layouts. Like I will say with Streamlit expander, see more details. And next I will say like Streamlit.right, here are some additional details. And next I'm going to say like we can say that can be toggled. And we can say Streamlit line chart, and we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to save this. Let's see how this looks. I'm going to be refreshing, and here we can see it says see more details, and when I click on that, it shows here are some additional details that can be toggled, and we have our line chart ready in here. Expander creates a collapsible section that can expand or collapse when clicked, as we just saw. Now we are going to talk about sidebar for navigation. So the sidebar can be used for navigation or to display controls without taking up space in the main area of the app. So for that I will say like streamlit.sidebar.title, and we can give it a title like navigation. And next up I'm going to say option, and it's going to be equal to streamlit sidebar select box. I will say like choose a page, and we are going to enter our page names in here, like we are going to pass a list like home, about, and contact like this. Next up we are going to say if option equals to home, we will say like in here you are going to code what you want in your homepage. Like for this example, we'll say Streamlit right, welcome to the homepage. And we can use a capital letter like this. Next, I will say else if option equals to about. We will say Streamlit.write. This is the about page. And let's say that you are going to add your image in your about page. You are going to add your portfolio projects with links. You can do that under this elif statement. Then we will say elif option equals to contact. Then we will say Streamlit right. For this example, this is the contact page like this. And I'm going to save it. Now let's take a look at it in the web. So I'm going to be refreshing the page right now. Here we have a navigation sidebar which we can open and close like this. And it says welcome to the home page because it was the first option. And in here we have this option. Next, I'm going to say about, and we are going to have this is the about page. And I'm going to try the contact, and it says this is the contact page. With this functional, Streamlit is a really good website for creating portfolios and showing off your projects. Okay, now we are going to talk about the themes. So Streamlit allows you to set a theme directly in your app's configuration file or through the app settings. So for doing that, we will say Streamlit set page config, and we can set like page title, and let's say themed app, and we can set like layout. We can manually select this from the menu too, but I will say white for this one, and I will say initial sidebar state, I will say expanded. So we set a theme like this, and we can say Streamlit.title themed Streamlit app, and we will say Streamlit right. For example, this app has a customized theme like this. So I'm going to save it, and let's take a look at it on web. So in here we can see that we have the themed Streamlit app. This app has a customized theme, and it's in the white mode by default. We can change it, but defaultly we set it to the white mode, and it looks great. Okay, when you deploy this app, the title of the app is going to be different, and it's going to be themed app since we set it like that at the page title. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my Streamlit app for a second, and now I'm going to show you how we can deploy your machine learning app on Streamlit and make users get predictions from your model with a good looking interface. So for that, firstly we need a machine learning model. I'm going to train a linear regression model real quick on the video. Like I'm going to create a notebook like notebook.appmb, and on a Jupyter notebook I'm going to train a machine learning model and export it quickly. Like I will say in here, firstly import numpy as mp, import pandas as pd, from scikit-learn model selection import train test split, from scikit-learn linear model import linear regression, and from joblib, actually we can just import joblib full like this, and it says no module named numpy because I selected the wrong kernel. Now it's going to be working smoothly. Yeah, great. We did our import. Now we are going to set the x, like I will say 2 times numpy random 101. So this means that 100 samples, 1 feature, and for the y side I'm going to use 4 plus 3 completely random multiplied by x plus numpy random number 101. So we have a linear relationship with a little bit noise. So we are going to be using this x for predicting this y, and let's create a quick data frame with this, like pandas data frame numpy. I'm going to add them together like this, x and y. Actually I need to give this in a tuple like this, and next I will say columns, and I'm going to name them like feature and target for making this simple. And I'm going to get the data in here, Great, so we have a data like y 4 plus 3x plus noise. Our dataset relationship formula is something like this. Now we are going to split our dataset into training and testing sets to evaluate the model's performance later. By the way, if you are not familiar with this machine learning topics, I have a machine learning tutorials playlist on my YouTube account where I have more than 20 tutorials just like this one, but focused on machine learning concepts where I teach machine learning. I recommend checking this playlist if you are learning machine learning and want to master the concepts of machine learning, because I cover a wide range of topics on there. Great, so we will do train test split. I will say x train, x test, y train, y test, and it's going to be equal to the train test split. xy, I'm going to set the test size as 0.2. Next, I will say model is going to be linear regression. I'm going to initialize it like this, and I will use fit method on x train and y train. So my model is ready right now, and we can evaluate the model quickly. Model.score, and I will say x test, y test. So our score is 0.69. This is the R-squared score. Man, it can take values between 0 and 1, and the values closer to 1 is generally considered better. So I'm going to be using this model. Now I'm going to use joblib for exporting this model. So I will say joblib.dump, and I will say model, and I'm going to say linear regression model.pickle. So I'm going to have linear regression model.pickle file in here. From now on, I can use load method for predictions. Like if I want to get a prediction using x for the y, let's say like model.predict, I need to pass an two-dimensional array like this, and I need to pass an x value like this. And for the input of 3, our model's output is 30. Like we are going to create a web app for users to enter this 3 and get this output. Like users can enter 4 and output is going to be 16, can enter 10 and the output is going to be something like 34. And for reaching the inside element, we can say with brackets 0, and we are going to have one bracket left. If we say 0, we are going to get the number like this. Also, we exported this model right here, but in our Streamlit app, what we are going to do is we will say joblib.load, and we are going to load our model like linear regression model.pickle. Then after loading it back with joblib, we can use its methods like predict, and we can pass 10 like this. With the same structure, we are going to get the same output like this. We are going to be using this line in our Streamlit app. So we can continue coding in Streamlit since we have a really good and simple machine learning model ready up in here. By the way, if you want to learn more about the machine learning deployment with Streamlit, you can check my data science projects playlist. I deploy like 10 or 15 machine learning models. They are full projects. I show data analysis, data cleaning, feature engineering, training machine learning models, and at the end I deploy the machine learning models using Streamlit interfaces. You can check for complete projects. You can find the data science projects playlist link in the description. So I'm in my Streamlit app page. Now we are going to write everything from 0. We are only going to need joblib, so I will say import joblib. Next up, I'm going to say model is going to be joblib.load, and I will pass linear regression model.pickle, the file in here. So I just wrote that. We can close the notebook right now. We don't need it anymore. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a title like linear regression prediction app, and I'm going to say like Streamlit.write. I will say enter the feature value to get a prediction. And next, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say feature value, and it's going to be equal to Streamlit. Let's take it with a number input, enter a value for the feature, and we can say like minimum value of 0 and maximum value of 100, and the value is going to be, let's say, 2. I didn't look for the range of the x, but it doesn't matter. I will say if Streamlit button, I'm going to define a button like predict, then I will say prediction, and it's going to be equal to model.predict, and I will say feature value we have in here. Like we need to give it in two-dimensional array like this. Next, I'm going to say Streamlit.write. I will say fstring, the predicted target value is, and we are going to give the prediction, and we can make it look better, like it's just float formatting. We can use this, and our machine learning model is going to be ready to give predictions on a Streamlit interface with this code. Let's save it and test it in web. For launching it, I will say Streamlit run app.py. So we are going to have that in browser. I'm going to be recording in a second. So here we have linear regression prediction app, and it says enter the value to get a prediction, and we have the number input array in here. Let's say like 4, and let's get the prediction. Okay, I just realized that we didn't reach the inside element of the prediction, so I'm going to be fixing it in a second with you in the video. So remember that, I'm going to go back to the notebook. Remember that we need to put 2 brackets with 0 for reaching this inside element. So I'm going to be taking them and I'm going to be pasting them in here. So I'm going to just save this and reopen my app because it's going to work out smoothly right now. Now I'm going to refresh that. We don't need to refresh, it's updated, but doesn't matter. I will say 4, and when I predict, we can see the predicted target value is 16 plus 26. And I'm going to pass 10. We are going to have 3483. I'm going to pass 12. We are going to get 41. I'm going to pass 50. We are going to get 158 and 61. And I'm going to pass like 1. And we are going to have the prediction of 6.98, I'm sorry. And we can say like 7. We are going to have 25.54. So our machine learning app is ready on web right now. So that was it for the Streamlit course. Again, with Streamlit you can create beautiful web apps easily without doing like any type of front-end coding, and their API is really good. You can just check their API for seeing different features and trying out them by yourself. I just want to show you the main structure and logic of the Streamlit apps, and I tried to cover a wide range of topics in a short time. In this tutorial, I tried my best. I can also record more advanced courses in the future about Streamlit because it's possible to create really amazing apps using Streamlit because it has a lot of customization option and a lot of features that you can build apps on. And I use it a lot when I'm working on my job or on my personal projects, so I recommend you to try it out and give it a chance when you are doing something professionally too. Thanks for watching to this minute. I will be really happy if you can leave a like to this video, and also I will be reading all the comments, so I will be happy if you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments section. I will be replying all of them. Let's get to the outro. Thanks for watching this Streamlit course. I have a data science courses playlist where I have more than 20 courses and projects on there. You can check that playlist from the cards of this video or from a link in the description. I'm sharing a new data science video every week on my channel. You can subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Have a great day.